When it comes to signing your books as an author, there are a couple of things that most people do not tell you. And it's not because they're trying to hide this from you, it's simply that they're not thinking about telling you. You have to keep in mind when you're signing your books, this is an entirely different concept than anything else that you are doing. And as an author of many, many years, I've learned some great things. I've been given some great advice. I've seen people struggle. So let's break down some tips you need to know before signing your first book. The first is that we do not use our real signature ever for any reason. But why? Because it's comfortable to sign our name the way that we normally sign our names, but also the way that we normally sign our names, if we're signing those in books, makes it really easy for people to steal our signatures for things like checks. We have to be very careful that people are not able to use our real signatures, our legal government signatures, because they can then use it on all sorts of paperwork that we do not want them to be able to sign our names on. If something happens and we need to come back and say, oh, well, this was a false charge, or this was something I didn't do, you can prove, oh, this is not my signature. This could not could not have been written by me. That's going to work in your favor, but using your real signature in your book, never a good idea. The next is to have a dedicated way to sign your name. That means you are creating a secondary signature specifically for your books. It can be the full author name. It could be like an initial and some scribbles. It could be whatever you want it to be, but make it a dedicated way and then learn it. Practice it over and over again so that it's the same. Because if it's not the same, or at least relatively the same, when people are then reselling copies of your books, they can forge your signature, because if it doesn't match anything, then it doesn't match anything. So you want to have a dedicated way of doing it. You also want this to become second nature to you. So you're going to want to sign this in your author way so that every time you're doing a book signing or a book event where you're signing a ton of these things, you are already familiar with it. You are already in that pattern. You can very easily do it. Otherwise, you're going to have to think about it. You're going to have to be in your head. You won't be able to be in the moment. You're not going to be able to get this moving quickly, and it's going to be a problem for you. So you want to make sure that you've got a dedicated signature so that when you are going to be doing things like high volume book signings, it becomes way easier for you. But that also brings us to the next conversation. Make it short. Your signature does not need to be the entire author name. It can be, that's fine. You can do whatever you want, but keeping it shorter usually works to your benefit, because when you're signing books, you're typically not just signing your name. You are typically signing it to somebody. So to Amy from your author name. I like to have a little a slogan that I put inside of my books, but that slows the process down, especially for high volume events. So you want to make sure you've got something that's short and sweet and very clear and concise that it is you. One of my mentors actually just does her first initial and then something that's representative of the second part of her name. It's like a shape. And so it's very short, very simple, but when people see it, they know and identify her. For you, you're going to want to, again, especially for those high volume signature events, you're going to want to keep it short and sweet because you have other things that you're writing, but you're doing a lot of work. Even if you're sitting at your house and you're just doing like pre-order signatures or something, that's really going to cramp up your hand. So you want to keep it as short as possible, clear, legible, easy for people to understand and connected to you. Like I said, it can be the first letter and then some scribbles, but like a very distinct pattern of scribbles. You could do the first initial of the first name that you use and then the last name. You can decide what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing as your author name in its entirety. As long as it's connected to it and it makes sense, that's going to help you out and be easily identified by your readers. Now, another thing that you can be doing is actually to change your signatures. And I know I just said don't change your signatures, but listen to me, hear me out on this one. You can change your signature based on specific time periods. I've heard of actors between certain years, like they have a gap of time where they do their signature one way, and then there's a turning point and they change their signature. So that when memorabilia comes up in the future, they're then able to very easily say, oh, well, this was before 2006. This was before 2017. This was before whatever, or between these years, to know the legitimacy of things, to know that it is something that they actually signed, and they change it periodically throughout the course of their career. That's something fun that you can do for yourself, or maybe you let your fans in on the game. You can let them know if you want the original author signature, you have to order before this date because it is switching on this date and you're going to get the second generation author signature. It's kind of like a fun little inside joke game between you and your community. So it's a really fun way to kind of spice things up, to change things, to do whatever you need to do to help with your marketing, to help with your community building. And then sometimes it gets boring signing the same thing over and over, so if you switch it during certain time periods, or for special events, you get a special signature, or they get something extra in it, That's going to lend itself to making sales, to having the community conversations, and to being able to recognize things, because believe it or not, you will have fans who come and find you after years and years and years and show you things that you've signed in the past, and you'll be able to easily identify what year that was based on the signature, because you went into it with a marketing mindset when you decided what you were going to do for your signatures. With that in mind, we talk a lot about how to do book signings and events and how to interact and engage with your community while doing your book signings. This was specific to your signature to make sure you are safe and protected, but we've got lots of tips and tricks with me and with other authors who are sharing their knowledge and experience as well to help you level up the events that you're doing, the book signings you're doing, the book boxes, the giveaways, etc. So if you've got questions, go ahead and drop those down below, but I wanted to make sure that we were very clear on using a signature that is not your own and then doing some other fancy things to make it easier on yourself, but build up your community conversation as well. Every single day we're dropping brand new videos to help you navigate the world of author life. So now's the time to follow along if you're not already, and make sure you're leaving those questions down below so we can answer them in upcoming videos. I am excited to help make this your most profitable author year ever, whether you are a brand new aspiring author trying to get into the business or a highly established author like me who's been around the game for a while. And we want to make sure that we're helping you to navigate the social landscape as it is right now, because it is ever changing, and we want to make this easier on you so there's less time, less stress, less commitment to a lot of this stuff that doesn't need to have so much stress attached to it, so that you can live your best author life while also still running your author business. So we'll see you in the upcoming episodes.